So it's my 2008 G6 with Ecotec engine 2.4. I just replaced the water pump on it and I created a video. I would watch the whole video. I made a bunch of mistakes. I left them in for you to see. And also there's some tools that you're going to probably need that you didn't think you would need. So watch the video. Hopefully you can pick something up from it, and hopefully your project goes well. Okay, it's my 2008 G6 with 2.4 Ecotec. I've just determined that, I had a light in here, that the water pump's leaking. First time I've seen a water pump like this. It's quite the piece of machinery built basically onto the motor. So I've seen a couple videos. They both show basically taking the intake manifold gasket, or the intake manifold off. I have removed the bolts for the cover. So that's just 3 bolts. So now I'm at the manifold, which is pretty straightforward, but it's attached to, I don't know if it's a resonator or something. It looks like a lot of stuff would have to come off. So I'm going to try at first to not have to remove it. I know that distribution block has to come off. The thermostat's in there. I have a new thermostat. That pipe that goes into the pump has to come out, and then the pump can come out the back. I have the tool to hold the timing sprocket, so I'm going to try to go step by step, so hopefully it'll make it easier for you. So the drain plug's a little tricky. Looking on the passenger side of the car, up inside here, up top. Hey, see the plug there? Yeah, right there. So you got to get a pair of needle nose or something in there and open it up. Okay, so next thing I did was took the hoses off of the distribution block and took the bolts out, because under here is the thermostat. So you might as well change the thermostat while you're at it. You're going this far, it's only 20 bucks. But you got to know that when you take this apart, a whole bunch of antifreeze comes out. I thought it was drained with the rad. I left it open and it looked like it had stopped, but there's a lot behind this. So whatever you have underneath there, try to catch it. I didn't, but I just want you to know that. So now that I have the hoses disconnected, if you look at the back of the distribution block, it looks like 3 10mm bolts have to come off. I'm going to remove the two sensors as well and put them to the side. Not the sensors, but just the plugs out of them. So once the 3 10mm bolts are out of the distribution block, it comes loose from the block. You just kind of get it out of the way. And then the pipe that's attached to the, can you see it? The pipe that is attached to the back of the water pump comes right out. That'll work a little bit. So it's now out of the way. So it's now over there. I have new O-rings for those. I'm just going to keep it in the same orientation. So now the pump is free from the piping. So now I'm going to remove the timing sprocket cover. You'll see the 4 bolts down there with the, these are 4 10mm bolts. So I have to take the cover off. So I'm not sure if you can see in the mirror, but there's, I have the cover off, and that's the face of the sprocket. So the trick is to hold the sprocket in place while you remove the pump. I've got this tool. It's made by Lyle. It's their 13800. I think there's another one called OTC 6616 or something like that. There's 2 tools that'll do the same thing. They'll just hold the sprocket in place while you remove the pump. So I had to buy this. I'll probably keep it. If I ever lend it to you, please bring it back, because I'll forget that I did. Okay, you can see the sprocket retaining tool is installed. You put the 2 of the 10mm bolts back in just to secure it in place. So now I'm going to remove the 3 bolts that hold the sprocket onto the pump. So just so you can see, this is the new pump. So that's the 3 bolts that are holding the sprocket on. That's down in there inside the timing cover. So I'm going to be removing those 3. And then looking at the pump, it looks like it's held on in 4 places. So these 2 here are bolted from the back. You can see those. You can see the top one there. Sorry, you can see the top one. And obviously the bottom one is hard to see because it's back there somewhere. And these 2 are from the front. And you can see down inside, below that bolt there at the top, there's a 10mm bolt, and one at the very bottom at about the 7 o'clock mark on that cover, just below the cover. You'll see the other one. Okay, huge disaster just averted. This 10mm socket, I had cracked the 3 bolts loose on the sprocket, and I was undoing them by hand using this long socket, and it slipped out of my hand and fell inside the timing case. I got this magnet and got it first shot. I actually thought I dropped it, so be careful when you undo those nuts that you don't drop anything inside. I'm going to take my gloves off for this and make sure it's super dry and clean. Okay, I got the 3 bolts out, and I really strongly believe that if you can get the OTC 6616, get it, because it closes the whole hole up completely and nothing can fall inside. I was very afraid that I was going to drop these bolts in as well, and as you know, if you do, it really defeats the purpose of having the tool because the whole cover has to come off. So I ended up putting a 1/2 inch by, or a 3/8 by 1/4 inch adapter and put some hockey stick tape around it for grip, and that's my tool to remove the bolts once they're loose. But man, oh man, you have to be very careful with that you don't drop anything in. Okay, so in the front you can see the 2 bolts that bolt through are way down here and way up here. Okay, so the pump came right out without the manifold having to come off. And I've also cleaned up the face really good, so make sure that's nice and clean before you put the new one in. Okay, so this is the project table. So you can see the new pump and the old pump. 10mm long, small extension, 10mm short, 1/4 inch ratchet, straight screwdriver, clamp tool, very handy for those 2 clamps. They were pretty tough. And of course our Lyle tool, which I still like the OTC. This is the Felpro kit to replace everything. It's the 711282. I'm going to use everything out of there, even though the pump came with a new gasket. I'm going to use all the Felpro stuff because they're a good name brand. And of course, while you're at it, change your thermostat. So of course, we're going to do the reverse of taking it apart. You can see the old one. My old one was actually leaking, I believe, around the O-ring. It's pretty beat up here. It was coming out in between, and of course, rather than taking it apart and just changing that, you know, when you go this far, you might as well do everything. So I'm going to put some silicone grease on the new Felpro O-ring before I install the pump, and I'll start putting it back together and give you step by step. Okay, so once again I made a crazy mistake and got lucky. The bolt that I had on the end of the 10mm socket fell into the crankcase. Once again, this magnet, I reached in and probably took me 10 minutes and I fished it out. It would have been a disaster. I am going to get a 10mm socket that has a magnetic end so I can hold these bolts in when I put it back in. No more chances. Okay, took a ride to Windsor to Princess Auto and got some magnetic sockets, so this will not happen again. Definitely worth the buy. There's
a large gap between the tool. If I had to do it over again, I think I would have put this tool along the bottom of the opening. That would have helped with possibly things falling through. But I have to tell you, there's still a large gap between the tool and the sprocket, and anything can get down there. So a magnetic socket, 10mm socket, is an absolute must for this job.
So another thing to think about is when you take the old one out, don't turn the flange mount so that the orientation of the holes are the same. So when you get to the new one, I've cut the head off of a metric screw, and I've oriented it the same. Basically, this hole is almost lined up with this boss. So I've done the same here, so that when I put this in, hopefully it'll be lined right up with the tool that's in there. Okay, you can see the bolt that I cut is in the center of the tool, but unfortunately it's not long enough to come through. So I know I'm lined up. I'm going to try to take it out, remove the bolt, and put it back in, and hopefully I can start the proper bolt.
Okay, so I've put my stud in there, put the pump back in to line the hole back up. I'm going to take it out. I have my magnetic 10mm bit. Again, you should have one of these when you take the other one apart. I got very lucky removing it without dropping a bolt. If you drop the bolt, you are ripping into the timing cover, and I'm sure you don't want to do that. And of course a 1/4" ratchet to help things, because it's kind of tight down there. Okay, so I got the last bolt. Tighten, don't tighten up the bolts until you get the third one in. Once you get the third one in, go ahead and tighten it up, and that way you know you have your holes lined up on the sprocket. I can go ahead and put the 4 mounting bolts back on the pump, the 2 from this side. Tighten them up, and the 2 from the front side, you see them down here. I'll just push those in and then tighten those up. Okay, so now that I have all 4 bolts in to mount the pump all tightened up, I'm going to remove the alignment tool. Again, I'm going to use the magnetic socket because I have those 2 cover bolts, and I just don't want to take the chance. So next thing is to prepare the timing chain cover. I thought this was the gasket, but the whole thing with the metal peels away. This needs to be cleaned up, and of course the new Felpro gasket goes there. Okay, now that I have all the bolts tightened on the sprocket, the 4 bolts tightened on the pump, I'm now going to put the cover on the timing case. And of course I love silicone grease. I put that stuff on everything. Tighten the bolt across from the other bolt and just go back and forth and crisscross until you get the thing completely tight. And I put the bracket back on that holds the wire. So now I'm going to take the pipe that I left there because I wanted to make sure that I didn't mix it up. There it is over there. So I'm going to take the pipe out, clean up the O-rings, make sure the orientation's correct, look at the distribution block, change the seal on that, and put it back together. Felpro kit comes with 2 new O-rings. You're going to take these old O-rings off, put the new ones on, and put a little bit of silicone grease on them. Okay, so the pipe's in. It went really easy with the silicone grease. I have it in the same orientation that it was before. I actually played the tape back to make sure that I had it right. Unfortunately, the Felpro kit does not come with this seal, so I'm just going to clean it up and put some silicone grease on it. It does come with the seal for the thermostat, but that came with the new one anyway, and this fits inside of the other side, or on the outside of that pipe that's underneath the exhaust manifold. See, the distribution block is back on. There's 3 bolts, 1 here, 1 directly below this pipe, and 1 where you can't see. Don't forget to connect the two sensors back up. And there's the housing for the thermostat. I'm going to put the thermostat in from the other side. So here's the thermostat housing. Here's the new thermostat. I put a little bit of silicone grease on it, of course. Twist it a little bit till it finds its place. It'll only go in this way when you put the housing on. If it's the other way, it won't let you put it on. So it goes in this orientation here. Now I'm going to put the housing in, put the hoses back on, and we should be pretty much ready to fill it up. Okay, you can see that the thermostat's in, all tightened up. Of course, I went back and forth and tightened them up evenly as you tighten up the thermostat housing. So I'm going to go ahead and put the covers back on the shroud. It won't run without it. And I'm going to fill it up. It looks as though it should bleed. This is the high point of the motor, and it bleeds into the tank. I'm going to leave it open as I fill it up, and of course I'm going to run it until it starts to come up to temperature. Shut it down, top it up. You'll see a bunch of different people that do this, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the refilling process. And I changed a couple protection plastic pieces for the wires that had disintegrated. I don't know if yours is in that condition, but I decided to change them because I could. So I'll get this all back together, start filling it up, start running, and hopefully we have no leaks. Okay, so the engine's running. I have the reservoir at the halfway point. The engine's cold right now, of course, so the thermostat's not open. I'm going to keep an eye on the temperature. Right there, it's still pretty cold. There it is right there. You can see it. So once it comes up to temperature, pretty close to the halfway point, I know the thermostat is open. We'll take a look at the reservoir, top it up as we need. I'm going to look for leaks now, and so far so good. I don't see a whole lot going on. Everything looks pretty good, so we'll keep an eye on things, and hopefully that's it. So I'm almost up to temperature. I have the heat on high. I can feel the hot air blowing out down below, so I know that the coolant is moving through the system, so that's a good sign that the pump is full of coolant and moving it around. It's not airlocked. So I'm going to go for a test drive and come back and check for leaks and top it up, but I think that's it.